Councilmember Gonzalez.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. City Clerk, do we have any changes to the agenda?
There are none.
May I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll move Ibarra.
Second, David.
Motion by Mayor Pro Tem Ibarra, seconded by Councilmember Davis to approve the agenda. Mayor Lopez.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Ibarra.
Yes.
Councilmember Davis.
Yes.
Councilmember Menke.
Yes.
Councilmember Gonzalez.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. We'll now go on to election results.
Item number 1 is results of the City of Vernon, April 13th, 2021 general municipal election. Mayor and Council, the item before you is a resolution to certify the results of the election held on April 13th, declaring the results and other such matters as provided by law. The canvass was conducted following election night, and a second canvass was conducted on Thursday of any additional ballots. No further ballots were received by Friday, the deadline to receive ballots that were postmarked by April 13th. So the resolution before you certifies the results. I've also provided you with an updated attachment that has the official results as provided on Friday after the mail was received. So a motion would be in order to adopt resolution number 2021-09.
Does the council have any technical questions of staff at this time? Are there any public comments for item number 1? Seeing that there aren't, oh. Do we have any public comments? No? May I have a motion for item number 1?
I'll second.
Yes.
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 No, public comment for item? Now we will take public comments from the audience.
Good morning, Council. This is related to the election, so I just waited for the entire general comment. My name is Marisa Obeen with the Vernon Chamber of Commerce. And on behalf of the Vernon Chamber of Commerce, our Board of Directors, and the entire business community, we just wanted to take this moment to congratulate Leticia Lopez on your reelection to serve another 5 years. We're so pleased that close to 60% of the residents in Vernon, the Vernon voters, agreed that you are the right leader to serve office and to lead Vernon forward. Your win represents a loud voice from the constituents that they expect from a leader. And really in watching you as you've interacted through the year, through the pandemic, through your service, even as you engage with residents, you have really led full of integrity and authenticity and truth and grace. And those are all the characteristics that we really applaud in a leader to serve on the Vernon Council. You've helped navigate the city through a global pandemic, a tumultuous time in Vernon. Yet you've led, again, as I said, with grace, aplomb, just so many aspects of your thing that we're so pleased that the residents have seen this in you as well and tremendously supported your reelection. A couple of your opponents did not see that. They underestimated you. And I think you have been an unassuming leader in ways. I liken you to a rudder of a ship in a way, unassuming. The rudder is the most important part of the ship. And you're the type of leader that is very steady, steadfast, patient, and all those types of things that you've led the city of Vernon. And those are the qualities that that are truly exceptional and what the city needs during this time. So we just congratulate you. We recognize there's a lot of work to be done in the next couple of months. There is a entire business a business resident collective effort to keep Vernon clean. And that is a goal we all will work towards. And this year marks the 10-year anniversary that Vernon was saved from disincorporation. And so all of us collectively, this entire community, we're very serious and committed to that. So this year is very symbolic. On the night that you were elected, 10 years ago, we were in Sacramento fighting with over 200 people against AB 46, and we were showcasing the unique qualities about Vernon and how important it is to the regional economy. And that's the night that you were reelected. And so we maintain that commitment, and we are so grateful that you agree with that commitment along with other council members. And so there's more work to be done, and we completely support you and thank you for your hard work.
Thank you.
Mayor, I got a little bit ahead of myself. If we could go back to item number 1, there's a couple more things that we need to do, including the oath of office.
Okay, let's go back to item number 1.
Do you want to join me up front? Where should we go? Oh, perfect. Okay. So if you raise your right hand and repeat after me, I state your name.
I, Leticia Lopez,
Do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear and affirm
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully
and that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
upon which I'm about to enter.
upon which I'm about to enter.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I just want to say thank you to those who were able to join me today. I appreciate your presence. To the residents of our Vernon community, thank you for entrusting me with another 5 years to continue to advocate for our city. It was a tough but critical election, and I am grateful that I will be able to continue to stand by and protect the reforms that were established 10 years ago. Thank you, and I look forward to continuing to work with city staff, residents, the Vernon Chamber, and businesses alike. Furthermore, I would like to thank my husband and children for supporting me through this journey. Thank you.
Based on the charter, the mayor and mayor.
Comfortable, Melissa? I didn't.
Thank you, everyone. Now we'll take public comment from the members of the audience. If you'd like to provide a public comment through Zoom, please click the raised hand button. At this time, the public is encouraged to address the city council on any matter that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the city council. The public will also be given a chance to comment on matters which are on the posted agenda during city council deliberation on those specific matters. Are there any more public comment? Please state your name and business affiliation, if any, and please limit your comments to 3 minutes.
Good morning, Honorable Mayor, City Council, and City of Vernon staff. My name is Rosemary Vivero. I'm a Community Service Liaison with the Los Angeles County Fire Department. I'm here today to introduce you to your new Assistant Fire Chief, Rob Charles, which is here. He's Acting Assistant Fire Chief, and we also have We also have a new battalion chief with fire prevention, Battalion Chief Tony Basala. Hope I said that right. I practiced it all morning. So I don't know if they want to say just a few words, but I wanted you to see again the name and the face of who is working for your community.
Hello, council. Again, as stated, my name is Robert Harris. I'll be your acting assistant fire chief. Our department is actually in the process of, we're going to be given an assistant fire chief test pretty soon. But I got the honor of representing you over the next couple of months while we go through that process. I'm actually going to be sitting for the exam. I come to you with 29 years worth of experience with Los Angeles County Fire Department. My previous assignment, I was a battalion chief in the city of Inglewood. That's our battalion 20, which is actually in this division. So I am very familiar with the area, and it's my honor and privilege to be here. So obviously, whatever we can do to continue to provide you with the great service that we want to, please don't hesitate to reach out.
Morning, everybody. My name is Al Yanagisawa. It's okay, Rosemary. I was 10 years old before I learned how to spell it, so no worries. On April 1st, I was transferred to Fire Prevention Division, responsible for Central Region, which also covers the city of Vernon. Two the days of the week, I'm in the city of Vernon. I'll be in the office upstairs. So if anybody needs any help or has any questions, I'm available for the city of Vernon. Happy to be here. I spent this 20 years on the job for me. I spent the last 3 years as a battalion chief in Battalion 9, which is an operational position. And it's time for me to come into an administrative position. And I chose fire prevention as one of my options because I happen to work next door as an inspector in the city of Commerce for 2.5 years. Thank you very much, and I look forward to working with you.
Welcome, both of you. Lisa, do we have any hands raised?
We do. Susie Ibarra, go ahead.
Thank you. This is I'm gonna do that. This is
Miss Ibarra, if you could please maybe turn off your computer volume or your, I'm not sure what device you're using, but there's a lot of feedback.
Okay, can you hear me? Yeah, it sounds like it.
That's better. Thank you.
I wasn't able to attend last week, but I wanted to thank the city for the Easter activities during COVID. As you modified it, it was great that you guys found a way to continue the support for the community. I thought it was great. Second, although not publicized as much as it should be, I'd like to recognize Carlos and the city administration and those council members who supported the distribution of the vaccine. And again, found ways to take the vaccine to the residents and to the employees. I thought that was an excellent job, and I hope you get more publicity on it. Third, I was surprised to see item number 5 in the consent calendar, and for the purpose it was created. I'm familiar with employment law and found it difficult to see how this could happen in the city. The city has consistently bent over backwards to stay on the straight and narrow issues since the issues of 2009, 2011. If it is found that the accusations are correct and the city is liable, I will follow up with council next year to update the charter to eliminate, hopefully to eliminate employment for service for those who have lost their integrity or who perform malicious acts that affected the city, if it's not in the charter already. As for city housing, housing should be considered as a benefit that should not be taken for granted. Moving forward, I will be recommending to the Housing Commission, if possible, to update the renter agreement to terminate the lease or the renter agreement for any malicious acts that places the city at risk. In all my research on Vernon, I've never seen this happen in the history of Vernon, and I don't want to have to worry about losing the city for such irresponsible actions or frivolous claims. Thank you.
Juliet Goff.
I'll go ahead and prompt her to speak.
Good morning. Is my audio working? Excellent. Okay. Good morning, everyone. Honorable Mayor, City Council, City staff, and the audience. I'm Juliet Goff. I own Cal Plastics, a small business here in town. And I basically just wanted to reach out and say specifically congratulations to Council Member Lopez on her reelection. Now that we are 10 years past the AB 46 battle, it's more important than ever to see council members, especially new blood, that support the reforms that were so hard fought. So I just want to applaud you, Council Member Lopez, and the voters of Vernon, and the other council members that are in support of all the reforms we worked so hard on to safeguard and to continue our guardianship of this great city. That's it. Thank you.
Mayor, we have one final public comment that was submitted via email. And I'll read that into the record. To Vernon Mayor and City Council, General Manager and General Counsel, from Leticia Vasquez Wilson, Central Basin Municipal Water District Director, regarding proposed settlement, City of Signal Hill et al., the Central Basin Municipal Water District, Los Angeles County Superior Court Case Number 19-STCP-03882, dated April 20th, 2021. Throughout the past 4 years and since the passage of AB 1794, the Central Basin Municipal Water District has been led and controlled by the directors you've appointed to our board. The idea of imposing this meter charge on its customers was proposed and initiated by Director John Asqui, Assistant City Manager of the City of Downey, on July 10th, 2019. All of the appointed directors representing you on the CBMWD board voted to support this meter charge. In turn, you pursued litigation costing Central Basin ratepayers hundreds of thousands of dollars. I've attached a certified copy of the action by the board for your records, with the appointed directors highlighted in pink. Currently, Santa Fe Springs Public Works Director, Mr. Noe Negrete, serves as Vice Chair of the CBMWD board representing the large water users. City of Pico Rivera Public Works Director, Monica Heredia, represents the 24 cities in the Central Basin Service Area. Mr. Michael Gualtieri of the La Habra Heights Water District serves as an at-large member. All were recently installed by you as the appointed representatives to the Central Basin MWD Board of Directors. I encourage the Vernon City Council to take a more active approach by communicating more frequently with your appointed representatives to reduce the likelihood of unnecessary litigation. As I've shared in many public meetings, there exists a number of very serious conflicts of interest as it pertains to the appointed director's ability to serve on the Central Basin MWD Board, particularly their ability to vote on items like a meter charge, which is now being disputed by the very agencies whose representatives initiated and voted to support it. I welcome an opportunity to further discuss this matter with you. Attached is the certification of the vote indicating that Heldman, Arrighi, and Asqui voted yes on the appointment of the director, and also attached is the budget. And that concludes public comment.
Thank you. We'll now go to the presentation items. Presentation item number 2, Human Resources.
Item number 2, sorry, is Sexual Assault Awareness Month and Denim Day Proclamation, and I will read the proclamation. Proclamation of the Mayor and the City Council of the City of Vernon declaring the month of April 2021 as Sexual Assault Awareness Month and April 28, 2021 as Denim Day. Whereas Peace Over Violence is a nonprofit volunteer organization dedicated to building healthy relationships, families, and communities free from sexual, domestic, and interpersonal violence, which since 1999 has organized sexual violence prevention and education campaigns. And whereas Peace Over Violence encourages the City Council of the City of Vernon to recognize April 2021 as Sexual Assault Awareness Month and April 28, 2021 as Denim Day. And whereas Sexual Assault Awareness Month and Denim Day are intended to draw attention to the fact that rape and sexual assault continue to be serious issues in our society. And both events were instituted to call attention to misconceptions and misinformation about rape and sexual assault, and the problem that many in society remain uninformed with respect to issues of assault and forcible rape. And whereas Denim Day originated in 1999 after women in the Italian parliament protested the Italian Supreme Court's overturning of a rape conviction. And whereas the City Council of the City of Vernon encourages its employees, residents, and members of the business community to participate in Sexual Assault Awareness Month in support of the efforts of Peace Over Violence to educate all people in our community about the true impact of rape and sexual assault, and to wear jeans on April 28, 2021 as a visible means of awareness against misconceptions that surround sexual assault. Now, therefore, the mayor and the City Council of the City of Vernon, on behalf of its employees, residents, and businesses, hereby declares the month of April 2021 as Sexual Assault Awareness Month and April 28, 2021 as Denim Day. This proclamation is being presented to Peace Over Violence by the Honorable Mayor Leticia Lopez for and on behalf of the City Council of the City of Vernon this 20th day of April 2021. And Mayor Ibarra.
Thank you. Now we'll go on to item number 3.
Item number 3 is fiscal year 2021-22 budget overview, and Finance Director Williams will present the report.
We'll be following along with the handout. So good morning, Honorable Mayor, honorable members of the City Council. Thank you for the opportunity to present an introduction and overview of the fiscal year 2021-2022 operating and capital budgets for the city and enterprise funds. This morning's presentation, the purpose of this presentation is to provide a big picture overview of the entire city operations. And this is while we have a completed draft, but it gives departments one more chance to tie out every schedule, just given the state of emergency and gravity of all of our expenditures, just to give it one last look. And those binders will be brought to the council in our next meeting, which will be our actual budget workshop. Next slide, please. So we begin with a look at the purpose of a budget. The fiscal year budget is distinguished from the financial statements in that the financial statements, the CAFR, is a backward-looking document. It's very important as it is a verification of our financial results, but for planning purposes, for strategic purposes, the budget is an all-important document. It's a financial plan, a spending plan, and a strategic document. And we see there, as we continue even tailing off the state of emergency, that the short-term strategy is the management of uncertainty. After the state of emergency, that will really move to long-term strategy. We always want to be prepared for economic uncertainties or, as we've seen, the state of emergency, which can have profound effects on the city throughout. Long-term fiscal accountability, long-term financial sustainability, and operational efficiency. And this is what we are tasked with as department heads for the city administrator. This is our job ongoing, to be accountable, responsible, and to bring forward recommendations that have long-term going concern for the city. Next slide, please. So we begin with a bar chart, which has now become familiar, but it has quite a story. And the story of this is the slope of the improvement and the health of the general fund that you see in the last 5 years in particular. So what you see here, we had, this is the general fund balance, and we had quite a structural deficit in the previous out years. And this began to change with decisions, disciplined management, and We're working our way out of it. You'll recall, the council will recall 2 years ago when we presented the CAFR, we ended actually with a slight reserve of 1.2 million. That advanced to over 8 million this last fiscal year. And I can say, although they're not the audited results, but we're in April, and I can tell you that we're on track again to add to this reserve. And that's excellent news, and it's an excellent story. On the expenditure side, we want to highlight right up front the most significant change in our general fund expenditure budget. And what you see here are some paired bars. And what this is the cost of fire transition versus had we continued what we were doing. So specifically what you see on the far left-hand side, the paired bars there, we knew and reported at the beginning of this process that there were transition costs moving to the county. So we needed to pay, there were engines that needed to be paid off, leases. There are significant capital expenditures to the buildings to ready them for the county. All of that is upfront, including partial year last year. So we really begin to see the savings as the years wear on. And in the out years, you notice in the far right-hand side is where we are seeing significant savings of 12, 14, and even 15 or 16 million in savings. And that's given what we know today regarding pension costs. So as the difference between those bars represents capacity, and that is this was a very significant decision on the part of the council and leadership as city administrator, and it was a great choice, frankly. So we start with a look at our general fund expenditures and overview. And we have the broad categories of salaries and benefits, supplies and services, those are operational costs, and capital expenditures. So we have our current fiscal year budget, which we are, everything is looking good. We're now in April and we are on track. Revenues are actually exceeding expectations already. And expenditures are right where they're expected. Now, a couple of things that I want to highlight, and you will see in the details of the budget book. And the first is the salary savings. So we see a decrease in salaries, and you will see this reflected in the FTE count at the end of this presentation. But this is only a year-over-year comparison. So council recall, we didn't transition fire until late in the calendar year. It was the end of October. And so we had months of not only salary costs within our in-house department, but then the payouts and things of that nature. So you will see a very significant change between those two fiscal years in the detail tab in the budget book. Benefits, we have a couple of slides where we're going to refer to this number later. This represents a change in our, specifically our unfunded liabilities related to pensions. This is going to be a very detailed discussion outside of this one, but today we want to introduce this as this is a significant expenditure driver that we will need to address, but that is primarily represented by pensions. Supplies and services, as expected, we see the transition from salaries to supplies and services for the fire contract. And capital, we see a change there, and all of that is offset by grant revenue, as we'll see in a moment. So just a couple of notes on what was previously discussed. We do see the decrease in salaries, and we'll see a more significant decrease in years to come. We have the UAL costs, which we'll discuss in a couple of upcoming slides, the increase due to the contract services, as well as capital offset by a $7.4 million grant. Here we have a look at our general fund revenue. And this pie chart simply represents where it all comes from, and most significant, the bulk of this comes from taxes. And we'll see on the next slide. The council requested this last year, and it turned out to be a pretty informative slide, actually. This shows the groupings. So in taxes, which represents the majority of our general fund revenues, we have property taxes, sales and use taxes, as well as our add-on utility users tax, and then the special assessment, parcel tax, safety, and so on. Those are our big ones. Those represent the bulk of our general fund revenues. License and permits, of course, business license is the largest category there. Intergovernmental revenues, this year we see a larger chunk than normal with the grant for the Atlantic Street project, charges for services, inspections, and then we have some franchise and overhead. Next, we have our general fund expenditures, and this shows a distribution of where the proposed budget is spent. And as the core services of the city are safety and infrastructure, you see public works and public safety representing appropriately about 60% of the expenditures throughout the city. Shifting to enterprise funds, same categories: salary, benefits, supplies and services, and capital. And what you see here is a very disciplined budget. For a budget this size, to see a shift in salaries as well as even the supplies and services. So it's effectively flat as there's MOUs in place, and then we have, as mentioned, UAL costs. There are normal maintenance costs built in to this that are represented in supplies and services, as well as the cost of power. And then we have the increase in capital, which is offset by bond proceeds. That's why the bonds were issued last year, and they are being spent as planned. A couple highlights on those notes, the same thing. So there is an anticipation of natural gas increases, very volatile market. So that represents energy cost, and then the capital is planned. Here's a look at enterprise revenues, and no surprise here, light and power represents more than 80% of revenues. And then the other funds represented as well, and then the small amount, which is one time, and that's the proceeds from long-term debt. Expenditures, same thing. Cost of power represents the majority of expenditures for the electric utility. And in summary, for both city and enterprise, the story really is operational expenditures have remained flat overall. They are consistent with the 2020-21, with the exception of benefits, and we have a couple slides coming up to discuss that in detail. There, until we're out of the state of emergency, we have the continued response to that, and the mobile operations, and then most significantly on the expenditure side, the finalized transition to the county. And here's a quick look over the next two slides of the department changes. So there are, when you see a change year over year, remember there are step increases that are built in, as well as current MOUs that are being addressed each year. The information technology that represents our ERP project, that's a large portion of that, in addition to other technology, as well as our mobile operations in health environmental. Police and fire, you'll see in the budget book that police have effectively kept their budget flat in operations as well as salaries. It's a marginal increase. What we have there is a UAL payment. Well, I'll discuss what UAL is, but it's the pension-related cost, and that goes for fire as well. Public Works is, as noted previously, a large capital expenditure offset by grant, and VPU capital offset by bond proceeds. Okay, and now an introduction, and I say an introduction because this is really going to require a separate presentation, a separate discussion, but it's really it's important that we begin discussing this now because we're in a period that CalPERS refers to as the ramp up, and this is these are the costs that are reflected in the benefit increases. That's where they are coded in general ledger. That's where they show up in the budget. So when we speak of pensions, there are three major cost areas. So there's the employer cost. This is cost to the city. Now, these are determined by CalPERS. This is for every what we call PERSable dollar. Every PERSable salary dollar has a percentage added to it. So that's a non-negotiable. And this includes any cost sharing agreements. Then we have the cost of the employees. So the costs on what we call the normal costs are shared. And then where things get challenging, we have what is called the, what I've referred to a couple times, UAL, and that's the unfunded accrued liability. Now, the UAL costs make up the what has been incurred over decades. So this didn't happen last year. This didn't even happen 10 years ago. This has been the cumulative result of what's happened in pretty much all pension systems and very significantly throughout California. So this is the cost driver, and it's made up of a couple of things. The first is investment returns. So of course, we're in a very low interest rate environment. It's been plummeting for 10 years. That makes it very challenging for a pension system to have a return on its investments, which in part funds a pension system. And then one that's may sound a little strange, but it's actuarial assumptions. And that is any change to the system. When the system was set up decades ago, we're living longer, even in a state of emergency. And we can be glad for that, but it puts a strain on a pension system. So a general explanation of a UAL structure, it's not identical to, but it can be, an analogy could be a mortgage. So this, as we mentioned in the last slide, this has accumulated over decades. But in order to address the health of the system, CalPERS has mandated accelerated costs and put us on about a 22-year schedule to repay this. And this is for all cities. This is where the increases are coming from. We don't have a choice in this matter, and they won't go away until the UAL is paid. And they're going to continue to increase. And so this is going to span more than 20 years. And we mentioned there, and I just mentioned a couple of terms to keep in mind as we discuss this in the future. There's the discount rate. That's equivalent to an interest rate or similar to an interest rate in a mortgage. What's 7%? And 7% on tens of millions of dollars is a lot, and it puts a strain on our budget year after year. And again, this is going to span for years and years. So we mention this at this time because we're in a 5-year ramp up where the payments will somewhat level, but they will still increase. So in other words, we're not going to see such radical changes in a year-over-year basis but they're going to continue to increase, and we're going to bring forward, we're in discussions of how to address this, and it's going to be a whole separate discussion. So in summary, these are just some notes in the next two slides of the department changes, which were previously mentioned. Next three slides, actually. Last, we see, as expected, our staffing changes. So you can look at the far right-hand columns 20 and 21. And we see the decrease primarily reflected in the transition of fire. And so this is as expected. And this is certainly bodes well. Some of that is traded off with the contract costs, of course. Last is a timeline of our events upcoming. So the official budget workshop will be the next council meeting. This is where you'll have the opportunity to go through the detailed binder. These will be distributed to council. Prior to that, we'll continue that through the 18th. And then the planned budget hearing the 1st of June, and that's approval again, and the that's the debt limit and the appropriations limit and the approval of personnel resolution. The budget begins, of course, for anyone unfamiliar listening, July 1st. So that concludes our overview and introduction, big picture, and we're bringing the details forward, and we're certainly available for any questions or discussion, direction from the council.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from the council? See that there's none, we'll go on to item number, actually consent calendar. We'll now go to the consent calendar. All matters listed on the consent calendars are to be approved with one motion. Items may be removed from the consent calendar by any member of the council. Those items removed will be considered immediately after the consent calendar. Does council wish to pull any items from the consent calendar? Are there any public comments for the consent calendar? Are there any public comment on Zoom? No? May I have a motion for consent calendar item number 4 through 14?
I move, Davis.
May I get a roll call?
Motion by Councilmember Davis, I'm sorry, Mayor Pro Tem Davis, seconded by Councilmember Lopez to approve the consent calendar. Mayor Ibarra,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Davis,
Yes.
Councilmember Menke,
Yes.
Councilmember Gonzalez.
Yes.
Councilmember Lopez.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. We'll now go on to new business. Item number 15, service agreement with Aon Risk Insurance West. Finance.
Finance Director Williams will present the report.
Yes, good morning again. So in terms of our risk provider, as best practice with all contracts, we review, we revisit these every few years, decide whether to actually request an extension. But this time we just felt given the state of emergency, as well as other cost drivers to our risk insurance, that we'd go out to RFP. And we did that. So there was a committee that represented several departments that participated in the RFP process. We had 3 very competent respondent firms. As noted there in the staff report, we have our current Aon, Alliant, and Keenan. They all did a great job. What the consensus was that we're in a market that is it's a very firm market, let's say, for risk insurance, especially given drivers such as the civil unrest of last year, as well as the state of emergency. Um, and they really fight for our business. They know the city. They work hard to deliver the value in terms of our premiums, and so they were selected for another 3 years, and we'll do the same thing. We will review the contract at that time and go back out to RFP.
Thank you. Does council have any technical questions for staff at this time? Are there any public comments for item number 15?
Just another out of the blue, Marisa with the Vernon Chamber. I just want to thank you, Scott, and for the team and the department heads. Just this continuous best practice that I see that you're doing, that you're implementing, just every 3 years. Let's take a look. Let's go out to bid. Let's just kind of have another set of eyes on this. And that is the spirit of healthy governance that we all support and applaud. And I just want to thank you, department heads. And it's just an example of the budget we just saw that was presented, an $8.5 million. I think what I saw was a surplus that we're looking at. That's fantastic. So I just want to applaud everybody for this commitment of fiscal accountability and stewardship. It's fantastic. So those are my comments on just this small little review. Thanks.
Thank you. Are there any further public comments? Are there any public comments on Zoom? No? See that there isn't any. May I have a motion for item number 15?
I'll move.
I'll second.
Motion by Councilmember Lopez, seconded by Councilmember Gonzalez, to approve and authorize the city administrator to execute a 3-year services agreement with Aon Risk Insurance to perform professional property casualty insurance broker of record services through fiscal year 2023-24 for a total amount not to exceed $277,500. Mayor Ibarra,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Davis,
Yes.
Councilmember Menke,
Yes.
Councilmember Gonzalez.
Yes.
Councilmember Lopez.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. We'll move on to item number 16, Public Works Contract Award to Holloway Rubbish Service Company for the city contract number CS0894 for refuse collection, recycling, and waste disposal services. Director Wall?
Honorable Mayor and members of the City Council, the item before you awards the contract for refuse collection, recycling, and waste disposal services at all city-owned facilities, including city-operated housing, and for the 2 privately owned homes in Vernon for the next 3 years. In early March, a notice inviting bids was sent directly to each of the 18 waste haulers that have City of Vernon franchise permits. 4 haulers submitted sealed bids, and one of the 4 bidders did not submit complete pricing for all required bid items. So of the 3 remaining bids, the lowest complete bid for all required items was submitted by Holloway Rubbish. And Holloway Rubbish is the city's current hauler. Under this contract, city residents will continue to be responsible for paying for their refuse service. And while residential rates have not increased in at least 6 years, Holloway's bid does include a $4.80 per month increase in those rates. This concludes my report.
Thank you. Does council have any technical questions for staff? Are there any public comments on this item? Are there any public comments on Zoom for this item? Seeing that there isn't any, may I have a motion for item number 16?
I'll move.
May I have a second?
Motion by Councilmember Davis, motion by Councilmember Lopez, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Davis, to accept the bid proposal from Holloway Rubbish as the lowest responsive and responsible bidder, and approve and authorize the city administrator to execute contract CS0894 in the amount of $257,922,000 for refuse collection, recycling, and waste disposal services. Mayor Ibarra.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Davis.
Yes.
Councilmember Menke.
Yes.
Councilmember Gonzalez.
Yes.
Councilmember
Yes.
Lopez. Motion carries.
Thank you. We'll now go on to oral reports.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor, City Council members. Again, City welcomes Chief Harris and Chief Yanazawa To the Vernon team, I look forward to working with both individuals. And I want to publicly acknowledge Rosemary and her efforts to continue to be a great partner with the city of Vernon and LA County Fire. She's done a tremendous job with outreach and supporting us with LA County Fire resources. We did have a fire event yesterday on April 20th. LA County Fire, Health Department, Police Department all responded to an ammonia release at Randolph Foods located at 2900 Ayers Avenue. According to the company representative, approximately 15 pounds of ammonia vapor was released into the atmosphere from an oil pressure fitting in the mechanical room due to an unknown cause. The ammonia leak was stopped and there was no reported injuries and impacts to waterways in drinking water. And anybody that was on scene recognizes the amount of resources that we're able to bring into Vernon quickly to handle any types of issues. So again, many thanks to everybody that responded yesterday. Vernon COVID-19 vaccinations. Vernon Vaccination Day was on April 14th. It was a great success with over 80 residents and friends and families that were vaccinated. We're now starting to reach out to a number of different cities in the surrounding community so that we can continue to vaccinate individuals. We have an ambitious plan. We've been working with Freddie so that we can get this plan rolled out quickly. The partnerships that we've tried to establish right now are with the City of Commerce and with the City of Huntington Park. We've also reached out to Solis's office, and they've indicated that they would like our assistance to do some vaccination days in Walnut Park as well. So we do have a scheduled meeting with Solis's office shortly in order to come up with a plan. And I believe Health Department is going to the City of Huntington Park to one of their community centers to take a look at the facility so that we can do a vaccination day, I think at the end of April. Freddie, you have any additional information that you want to give on that? Okay, so the meeting is there and it'll be at one of their, it's going to be at one of the parks, correct? Okay. And then lastly, we are doing a vaccination event at the Weingart YMCA this Friday, April 23rd. And so that will be with, is that with Santiago's office, Freddie? Yeah. Santiago's office is reaching out, and so we will do a YMCA event there. YMCA has also reached out to us and said if we can assist them with other vaccinations, which we will be doing so shortly. Other than that, I have no other reports.
Thank you, City Administrator Fantino. Are there any reports from council? Seeing that there are none, we'll now go into closed session for agenda items number 17. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful day.